This is me, Spoon Beast.
What's up, all Smash Brothers fans? It's me, back with yet another video for all of you. And it's the final character review before E3. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, there's still a week between what we're doing right here and E3, but next week I have to preview the event. It's a tradition of the channel when I'm doing, videos on a regular basis, which I've been doing for a while now. Next week I got to preview the event, and then right after that I got to cover it. It's all in the next 2 weeks. It's gonna be nothing but E3 preview and coverage. So this is the last time I focus on some sort of prediction before Super Smash Bros. 4 gets unveiled. To me, that's a big deal. May not be to all of you. As I've said 1,000 times, you can comment on this video. You can send me a personal message or Skype me, tweet me, comment on the Facebook page for my videos, and just don't be shy if you want me to continue these after E3. I will do them, because other than that, I'm gonna just be waiting on different news. Now, interesting, before we go on with this video, there's been a bunch of rumors that have come out about Smash Bros. 4 that I think are absolutely ridiculous, like the biggest roster size yet, like it's like that huge, and the anime characters are going to show up, and because Namco Bandai is helping development, and this, that, and the other. Those are all things to disregard. Or that we're going to see like silhouettes of the entire roster. Best we're going to get is a really good unveiling trailer with a few veterans and some newcomers. Not a whole lot, but enough to satisfy you to the next year's E3, to E3 2014. That's all we're going to get, and we're going to finally know the actual title of the game. But I read some interesting news this morning that they could be bringing back the Dojo website, like a similar thing where they post updates on the game weekly when enough of it's done, that I can go on there and I can do Dojo news again, and that'd be the first time in 6 years that I'd be bringing that series back. That's a big deal. I could do that if they plan on actually doing that again for the 4th game. I hope so, because fingers crossed. That means, and of course I can keep doing these character reviews, feature reviews, and different speculation and prediction videos as well. That's all up to you guys. If you want me to continue doing this sort of stuff after E3's dead and gone, go right ahead. Now to the meat and potatoes of this video. After I wasted 3 minutes of your time, we're going to talk about the definitive Pokemon rep in Super Smash Bros. 4. Now, I know what you're asking. Hey, Spoo Beast, isn't Pikachu and Jigglypuff already going to be in it? Yes. They always are. In fact, the original 12 will always be in Super Smash Bros. And those who survive from Melee to Brawl will also survive from Brawl to the 4th game. So the veterans that you've seen in Brawl, they're all coming back. The Marios to Marths of this world are all going to return. For some, their 4th game. For others, their 3rd. So that would include Pikachu and Jigglypuff for their 4th. However, we still don't know. There's always, at least since Melee, there's always been 4 Pokemon reps, including Pikachu and Jigglypuff. They take up half. But there's always an additional 2 others. With Melee, they had Pichu and Mewtwo, Mewtwo ended up becoming, the sleeper character of that game. I still don't. Yeah, he's cool, but I didn't think his playstyle was all that awesome. They really could have done a lot better with him, but I can understand why people like him. I mean, he's a badass in the movie, and you'd want to play as a badass in the Smash Bros. Series. And Brawl introduced Pokemon Trainer, the Pokemon Trainer concept, which was the red trainer, and he had, you could pick 3 different Pokemon that were all different evolved forms. Squirtle being the first form of a Pokemon, Ivysaur being the second, and Charizard being the 3rd and final Pokemon, and all in that order. They come in first evolve, second evolve, and 3rd evolve forms in a row, and that's how you switch between characters. And I like that concept. I think that concept's really awesome. In fact, I think it should come back. So if he, maybe not the red trainer, but if they do something like Team Rocket trainer with evil Pokemon for a villain, or if they want to bring back just somebody from the recent games from Gen 5 or 6, any of the trainers in all those games that have come out in the last few years, that'd be perfectly fine. With brand new Pokemon from a 5th or 6th gen game, I can dig that, and I think that should come back. But technically, in essence of how a character works, that's been done, though the Pokemon haven't. So in terms of that, I don't really know what would be the best Pokemon, because I am not very you know, I've heard a lot of people talking about using Snivy, Dewott, and Emboar for, the new trainer, so to speak, that's from Gen 5. But, just something like that. And if it's a similar playstyle, we go through different Pokemon, the first evolve with one Pokemon, the second evolve for a second, third evolve for a third, 3 different ones in their first, second, and final stage of evolving, and just use them. And they all, of course, have different powers and would all be different playstyles. I guess one's got to be like a little bit, got to be agile and fast. Second one's got to be, a bit sluggish, but more of a powerhouse. And the third one's just one big-ass slow brute with tons of power behind them, because that's how it works. How you play them out, that's to be determined if the Pokemon Trainer concept even comes back in the 4th game. I really hope it does, because it's a great fucking concept. I love Pokemon Trainer. It's one of my favorite new additions to Brawl. Why he picked such an old trainer, though, like Red's from Pokemon Red, that's years ago, even before Brawl. Like, that's a long time ago. If they spice it up through a few generations, we should be in for a better return this time. That's still technically veteran status. But so would who people have been clamoring for. Now, I'll get to the last person, in a bit, which, I've already talked about this particular Pokemon. Her, by my surprise, apparently it's a female Pokemon. I'll get to her at the end. But many people are talking about Mewtwo coming back. Now, I brought this up briefly in my first video of the new year. I think I touched upon DLC in Smash, which I said should not be used for, the real roster that matters. The real roster should be filled up of veterans and newcomers you can play from the start, and then veterans and newcomers you can unlock. That's it. That should be as far as it goes, which to me, that makes perfect sense. But for characters that people want back that didn't make the cut from, say, Melee to Brawl or Brawl to the 4th game, why not, do a DLC where people who want those particular characters, because they don't appeal to everybody, people who love Mewtwo, they could go and download him and, use him. People who love Roy can do the same. This is what I said months ago, back in January. This is back like half a year ago. So I think that would be a good way to bring some of the old faces back that, some people might particularly enjoy. It's not for everybody. If somebody doesn't want Mewtwo, they don't have to pay for him. But if you really want Mewtwo on your roster, you should be able to download him perfectly fine. But people have been bringing up the new Mewthree form that apparently he can evolve into in some upcoming Pokemon game. I'm hearing in some places it's a rumor, and some people are telling me it's true, and it's been the buzz of my channel for the last week. It's like, oh, Mewthree in Super Smash Bros. Form. Maybe he could start off as Mewtwo and turn into Mewthree. It'd be a good way to show off the form, especially if this, I don't think this game's going to come out before whatever game he debuts that Mewthree form in. But it'd be good promotion for it if that Pokemon franchise doesn't do that well. But Pokemon sells itself, so I don't really think it needs Smash Brothers to help drive some sales. But it might show that form to a broader audience, rather than putting it in a movie or something like that. You could put the Mewthree form as a part of Mewtwo himself. Maybe to a Zelda chic degree, maybe it's got to be done like a Samus to Zero Suit sort of thing where you use like a Final Smash, you got to build up something to turn into Mewthree. But it's a very interesting form. It looks really cool. He's kind of like, he looks mildly, he kind of looks like the usual Mewtwo, but with a long, long, long tail on the back of his head, and he's a little more, he looks like Mewtwo mixed with Brain from Pinky and the Brain, basically. He's got that whole big cranium, long tail in the back sort of look going on. Looks like Mewtwo, but with a bigger brain and his tail instead of sticking out of his ass, it's sticking out of his head. Looks pretty cool. Looks like something you'd see out of Dragon Ball Z, who some people actually think like Goku's going to be in Smash Bros., which is fucking ridiculous. Sure, Namco can develop games for the people who own Dragon Ball, but they don't own the character. Fuck. Anyway, the form's really cool. I think it would work well. I mean, if that's the way to bring Mewtwo back is because you want to do the Mewtwo-Mewthree sort of thing like Zelda and Sheik, go for it. Or if you want to build that up like Samus and Zero Suit, and even then, people figure out a way to play Zero Suit right from the beginning by holding like some sort of controller option down when you choose. You want to do something like that, go ahead. You're technically bringing in a newcomer with a veteran, because they counted Zero Suit Samus as a newcomer for Smash Bros. Despite her normal form being a veteran. Mewthree would be a veteran to the game. Mewtwo would be a returning character. So as far as that goes, sure. But do I think they're going to do that? I don't think they're going to, even with this new form, which technically is brand new, you know, from Pokemon X and Y, I really see them not bringing back Mewtwo, like, at all. As I said, if they ever do DLC, he's a perfect choice for DLC. And since I don't see them doing it, and him just being DLC, I don't see them bringing back this epic new form that just came out for, like, downloadable content. If they're going to bring something new and big like that, he's going to have to debut the new form as a regular roster member rather than a downloadable character. Who I see being the, it went from Mewtwo to Lucario. Now I think it's going to go to Zoroark. Zoroark is pretty popular. He's got, she, as I figured out, a lot of you commented. I don't know Pokemon genders. If Jigglypuff counts as a male and Zoroark counts as a female, I'm just going to call them it from now on. Seriously, there's no point in even me figuring out what the genders are at this point. But apparently Zoroark, which is a she's a shapeshifter. She could probably mimic any of the Smash Bros. Opponents and take on their likeness. Sort of like Kirby, but way cooler, because you'd actually turn into, like, say, Mario or Link or somebody like that. Of course, you couldn't do that the whole game. You do it for a few seconds, do your damage, and then go back to striking and clawing and all that sort of stuff, and the power of just the brute strength of her. But the biggest thing you can use with her is, of course, her transformations. And to me, she's from Gen 5, and she's very popular. Like, her popularity has lasted, I think at this point, for 2-3 years now, since at least the dawn of the 2010s, and it's still pretty high to this day. A lot of people are convinced that Zoroark will be that new fourth Pokemon representative. A lot of people are still hoping for a Mewtwo return, especially with him to bring the new Mewthree form. But I think Zoroark is the more likely choice you're going to get. Some people in the comments section on my videos actually don't think that Zoroark has a chance of getting in the game. I disagree. I think there's a very high chance that Zoroark will be, I don't want to say a lock for any of the newcomers, because I could say that and then all the newcomers are nobody I even seen coming from Nintendo. Like, I would love to say that I'd love to see an Animal Crossing character, but that didn't happen in Brawl, and there's an actual stage in Brawl, so there being an Animal Crossing character in Smash Bros. 4, to me, seems really, really unlikely, but it could still happen. I can't dismiss it. Whereas with Zoroark, I could be like, yeah, that's definitely going to happen, and then it doesn't happen at all. But to me, it seems like one of the highly, like Girahim from Skyward Sword. That seems like a very likely new representative of the Zelda franchise, and that would bump them up to 4. I count Zelda and Sheik as the same character. Don't split hairs. And I do not see Toon Link coming back. So that would leave them at 4, like they were for Smash Bros. Because Smash Bros. They had Link, Zelda, Ganondorf, and Toon Link. I see Toon Link kind of getting the axe. He's kind of the cool little Link, unless they want to keep having 2 Links. That's sort of like a gimmick since Melee with Young Link, but they'd be better off as having 2 heroes from Zelda, 2 villains from Zelda. You keep Ganondorf, but you debut Girahim, and it gives somebody a little bit of diversity. That's a flexible, fast-paced villain you can play as, whereas Ganondorf's a big lug who copied Captain Falcon's moveset. And with him, you'd have to kind of be creative, because you can't really copy anybody else's moveset. So for that, I think Zoroark's a very, very likely fit. Lucario's not going to come back. He's outdated at this point. He's not going to come back for a veteran role, just like Mewtwo did in the game before. I think that Pokemon is always going to change if they keep doing these games after the 4th one, like if there's a 5th or 6th or whatever. They keep releasing one per Nintendo console, that Pokemon's going to always keep changing. And I think for us at this point, Zoroark is a likely bet to fill that spot. I'm not saying it's a for sure thing, I'm just saying it's very likely. And that's all I have for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you loved it, of course. But as many of you do, give it a thumbs down if you absolutely hated it. I love, and hate. It means everything's being viewed. And it gives me a critical standpoint as well, and I'd love to hear what you say. Except when you say stuff like, oh, fucking so-and-so hater, why don't you rot in hell? That stuff is horrible. Please be mature about everything. Anyway, I'm not talking to most of you subscribers. I'm just talking about, the douchebags who don't like that I like certain characters that they like. Happens. We can't all like the same thing, but at least be civil about it. So yes, of course, visit www.fanboysanonymous.com. Follow me on Twitter at SpoodBeast. Link is below, along with the link to my official Facebook page, which you all should like, because, as I said, the more people that follow my Twitter and like my Facebook, the more you can learn about what's going on with this channel behind the scenes, rather than waiting for every video to come out. And as well, if you want, you can add me on Skype. My username is the same username as on here, SpoodBeast, so we can talk gaming. Anyway, I'll talk to you next week, folks, where we will be previewing E3 2013. right before the unveiling for Super Smash Bros. 4. I'll see you then, and we'll preview the event together. See you next time, folks.